I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to give you a little piece of advice. I think right now in the world is curious. Your best bet, because things are fluctuating and changing faster, at least than I can keep track of them. Does anybody else feel that? Do you notice some absentees this morning? Kirk got a call, 1, 2, last night, 1 this morning, another one. It's just, things change constantly, and if you're not curious of how things, what can I do with this? How am I going to make this better? You're going to be looking for those gray skies, James. You're going to be looking for that if you're not curious about what else is out there. Now, here's a quote from one of the greatest minds in history. I have no special talent. I'm only passionately curious. Albert Einstein. Just knowing, hey, always wondering, I'm not Reverend Sage. I knew that Ernest Holmes, in fact, to have something to say about him, was curious. I knew that he asked a lot of questions to his mom and bugged her a lot, but I didn't know he had that name in high school. Is it the eternal question mark?
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Isn't that just so cool? The eternal question mark. Curiosity is healthy, really healthy. It keeps your mind active, keeps you going, makes life interesting, can make your brain stronger because you're thinking about things. People don't get bored when they're curious. Yes, curiosity can lead you down a rabbit hole. And sometimes people get stuck there. So we want to be sure we have a good handle on curiosity. Eleanor Roosevelt was the First Lady of the United States from 1933 to 1945, the longest serving First Lady. And she was an advocate for women's rights in the workplace. She was definitely an advocate for civil rights for African Americans, for veterans. She really worked hard to make life better, worked hard. She was really curious on how can I make life better. She stayed in politics 17 years after her husband died. She knew she could make a difference. And it was started with curiosity. How can I make things better? She has this quote. I think this is about a child. We've had our little baby with us for 4 days. Kirk is forgiven for all the mistakes he's made this morning. Right, they're canceled, but anyway. Curiosity. I think at a child's birth, if a mother could ask a fairy godmother to endow it with the most useful gift, a little fairy godmother, just to endow that child with a useful gift, it would be the gift of curiosity. That gift, to be curious about life. And when you watch little babies, the thing that little Naya did for the first time for us this time, we see her probably once a week, sometimes for long times, but for sure. And she's just, nothing could be that cute, really, just so cute. But she's had her bottle, and then this is the first time she looked at me and she went, "Oh my God, she wanted to give me her bottle." Isn't that just the sweetest thing? I was curious, but that's curiosity, how kids learn so much. It was so sweet. Jesus knew about the gifts of little children, because don't you think children, I know teachers, Michael, our youth director, and all the other teachers and people who work with children here, Gail and everyone, know the curiosity of children. That's why I love teaching kindergarten for a long time. Children are naturally curious. They love to learn. And that's what the definition of curiosity is, the desire to know more and to learn. Well, Jesus even said, be like little children. That's the way you get into the kingdom of heaven. And what is the kingdom of heaven? But love and oneness and connection and understanding that God is all there is. We have to open ourselves to that way of thinking and to be curious about it. When I was thinking about children and curiosity, and that's why I mentioned the rabbit hole, Alice in Wonderland is a story, an English novel written in 1865 by Lewis Carroll. And it's about a little girl. She comes from a wealthy English family who has very, very good Victorian, virtuous, good manners. And she has nice social standing. She has a good education. She has a very logical rules and consistent rules to live by. Doesn't that sound like a nice life? Little 9-year-old Alice, she thought it was okay for a while until she saw that white rabbit with a waistcoat and a pocket watch, and she followed him down the rabbit hole. Okay, as I said, that's not always the best thing to do if you don't think about finding a way out. But she followed that rabbit down that rabbit hole, and she came back with unbelievable wisdom. And the biggest thing that was answered, and Reverend Sage, you brought this up in your beautiful reading from Ernest Holmes, is, who am I? She was questioned all the time by different characters. I mean, the tension hit when her rational world meant this mad, illogical world of Wonderland. But she learned from all the different characters. Yes, she was burning with curiosity, but when she went down that rabbit hole, she noticed right away things were getting curiouser and curiouser all the time. You know, she noticed that. And that's for us, but the difference between just going down a rabbit hole, and let's say in this human life, oh my gosh, we could list rabbit holes for so long because our human mind takes us in so many places. Depression, addiction, just all these different places we go, and we can stay there if we don't have the curiosity that Alice did to find our way back home. And what we talk about spiritually as home is our spiritual home that's always with us. That's what we need to constantly look for. Because yes, curiosity can make life more interesting, but it can also bring us closer to God and to love and to goodness. I mean, can you think, of course we all can, of a time in our life when our life was broken open? Broken open. Just loss and sadness. We've all had those experiences. And when we're curious enough to know this is not all there is, there's got to be something more. We can't put a period where God put a comma. There's something more for us to know. And usually, often, it's at those times that are the most difficult for us. We say there has to be something more. There has to be something more. Alice had very strange, odd characters along the way that were helping teach her who she was. The last encounter that she had at the tea with the Queen of Hearts, who wanted to her head off, the Queen said, "Don't say another word." And Alice said, "I won't do that." She knew she'd found her voice, and that's how her journey ended. She'd found out who she was. So Rabbi Heschel is such an amazing man, and he talks about living in spiritual amazement. Spiritual amazement. The problem is life gets messy, right? Life gets messy. We can't always be amazed, can we? Well, I found a quote, and it said, "The unexpected is either a curse or an opportunity. We get to decide." And it was from a book, I didn't know this man, by Matthew Kelly. And his book is called Life is Messy. So guess who ordered the book? And guess who got it in a day from Amazon? Well, I looked at it, I said, I love this book because life is messy, but it's wonderful and amazing. It's got infinite possibilities. This is what he says: life is messy. This is the human dilemma. You're not doing it wrong. You're not doing it wrong. It isn't a color within the lines exercise like Alice's life. It's a wild, outrageous invitation full of uncertain outcomes. Sometimes it's beautiful and rational, and sometimes it's totally illogical, unreasonable, and painful. What we do with the mess determines everything. That mess, whether it's a health diagnosis, a loss of somebody we love, the loss of something important to us, things change in our life, whether it's not the ability of not owning getting older, whatever it is. Life is different, but it's what we do with the mess. I had an interesting health diagnosis this week, nothing for sure, but it wasn't a good thing. And the doctor called and was trying to be really careful to tell me that it's not certain. I didn't own it, but I started laughing. I said, life is so uncertain. I said, now, is this definitely a positive or a negative or what? And she said, well, it says positive and nothing else, but that's not what it is. You need to do more. And I was laughing, and she started laughing. And she put me up to refer me to somebody at the front desk, and the secretary was giving me all these names that I couldn't pronounce. I said, could you give me somebody with the last name of Moore that I can say? And she started laughing. And I mean, you look at life, what are you going to do? You're going to take it and deal with it and make it better. Do whatever you can with it. It's okay. I feel fine. That's good. I didn't know I was going to say that, but it was funny. I'm just telling you the importance of laughter and curiosity and fun in life. That's what it is. What we do with it. And here he says, acceptance is the only way to make peace. We can ignore it, avoid it, deny it, blame others, shame yourself, exhaust yourself, pretending your life isn't messy. But the only way to make peace with it is to accept it. Then I add, curiosity is the only way to make it meaningful and interesting. The only way to do that. And we figure things out. What is it right now that's messy in your life? What is one question you could ask to bring you closer to home? To bring you closer to something bigger and better and brighter, as James was singing. A bigger sky, something more. It's always there for us. So curiosity can make us more spiritual, bring us closer to God, to goodness, when we ask the questions, when we do the work. Bringing us closer to God, Rabbi Heschel says, our goal should be to live in radical amazement. To know what is unknown and concealed to us is always, always known and open to God. Always. And here's why I had a little piece about Ernest Holmes. A little different avenue than Sage read, but it's very interesting. Ernest Holmes was insatiably curious. And he studied his Christian religion when he was young. He just gobbled it all up and loved it. But he knew there was more. So he read the Bhagavad Gita, loved it, thought it was the most beautiful text he had ever written. And then he read the transcendental work of Emerson and fell in love. But he didn't leave any of those different teachings behind. He carried them all with him so he could bring them all together and bring them and weave them together curiously. Well, how do we fit these together? What do we do to make that happen? And he did it. And we get to live from that beautiful sense of unity and oneness, and all paths lead to God. How blessed we are to have that. And the last thing that I have down here, and this is what I'm going to ask you to do today. Curiosity can bring us closer to each other. We have to stop judging by appearances. Jesus was so adamant on that. Stop judging by appearances. There's something so much more at work. There's something greater going on. There's something there that, oh my gosh, there's something for us. Instead of looking at our differences, what's a question you could ask? How are we alike? What's alike about us? What brings us together? Can you imagine if we all, instead of saying, can you believe that? Yeah, I can. Instead of judging and pushing that away, bringing something closer to you. Think in your life right now. What's a place that you've had some judgment, some bias, some criticism, some negativity, that you could ask a better question, something greater that would bring us all together, do some healing. Now, I know there's a lot of people that aren't here today, and I know personally there's a lot of interesting things going on, so I want to close today with a prayer for everyone that's here and everyone that's not here. So just put your feet on the floor with me, would you please? Unwrap yourself to make yourself a completely open vehicle for the loving presence and spirit of the infinite one we call God. Be open and available and ready for something more. Open your mind and open your heart to that infinite presence, that eternal love that we call spirit, that we call God. Claim it as your own, that right within you at this moment there is that light, that illumination that awakens us, that heals us, that love is the grandest healing presence, the healing power on earth right here, right now. And just know that whatever's going on in your own life, there's a power for good, of love, of healing that's going on in this moment, not another time, right here, right now. Own it, feel it at work in you in this moment. On this special day, right here, there's a healing happening, an understanding coming, an awakening, an enlightenment in this moment. And as we claim this energy and essence for ourselves, fill ourselves up until we are overflowing with the light and goodness of God, of love, of healing, of oneness. And let that energy embrace anyone you know right now in need of a prayer, in need of healing. Let that goodness overflow. There is no separation between time and space. There's only one. Allow just your awareness to bring that in your consciousness. And let's let that energy overflow again to the people in the community, in the InSpirit community, to embrace healing and love and understanding and light and amazement right here and now. And of course, as we open ourselves to the power of love that's infinite and eternal and ever healing and ever greater in every moment, we let this energy surround this earth in which we live. We see goodness and love at work, bringing us closer together with peace and understanding and the light of love right here, right now, forever. We release that understanding to the infinite mind of God. We know that it is done as we are speaking. We say, thank you, thank you, thank you. We let it go, and together we say, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.